Hello friends, today we are going to have a e-learning class on electronics and that is on behalf of EduSat. So, please come to our class of e-learning class to have a knowledge about the electronics. So, we should take the example of the surrounding. In surrounding we see different type of matters like gaseous matter, solid matter, liquid matter, and this class will be concentrated upon the solid, especially crystalline solid. So, what is solid? So, when I think of solid, I should talk of the size, shape, etcetera. As you know, the solid structure is such that it has a definite shape, means shape and size they are different things. Suppose two triangles are there, they are having the same shape, but this is bigger in size, this is smaller in size. So, shape means the akruti, they are same shape, but different size. So, in case of solid we come across the characteristics that solid is having definite shape and its volume is also definite. Suppose you are having a ball, football, then its volume is always remaining the same. So, this is volume is definite. So, these are two characteristics, and if I mathematically or in geometry, if I define what is solid, in this way I can define, suppose this is your axis and in solids I consider 2 points, one is A point, another is B point. As the points are there and they have position, so I can assign a position vector to point A, let it is R I. Similarly, I can also assign another position vector to point B of the solid, let R j. Then the gap or the distance between A and B points, that is your, if it is R I, it is R A, let it be R I j. So, R I j your R I or R I j equal to so, if I take the distance between A and B in a solid, that means the modulus of R I j, this distance is constant. This is the mathematical interpretation of a solid. When it is a solid, the distance is smaller in comparison to the liquid matter or the gaseous matter. So, the distance between A and B is smaller in comparison to liquid and gas, because the distance is small. So, the force between A and B is large. So, this is in short what about solid. So, now we should go to our exactly electronics topic or solid state physics topic, that is energy level. When I talk of solid, solid consists of many atoms. I consider a single atom. Consider a single atom. This is your atom and this is your nucleus. In nucleus, you will find proton, neutron, the heavy particles, and you will be astonished to think that if this is an atom and this is nucleus, you think of a football ground. In football ground, you bring all the spectators, all the things to a stone, that is your stone or a ball. So, inside the ball everything are forced to remain. That means, all are concentrated in this space and the whole field is empty. Similarly, in atom everything, the neutron, proton, all the massive particles are inside the nucleus. The rest space is empty and this empty space is used by the electrons. The electrons revolve around the nucleus. When the electrons revolve around, in each orbit the electron should have a particular energy. What is that energy? Because it is moving, by virtue of its motion or due to the motion, it will possess kinetic energy. That is simple. So, it will have kinetic energy, the kinetic energy of the electron in an orbit, and because the nucleus is positively charged and electron is negative, there will be some interaction, there will be some attraction, electrostatic attraction between the nucleus and the electron. So, the nucleus and electron, the attraction will give you another energy, that is potential energy. So, you add them up, you will get some energy E of the electron in an orbit, and that is calculated. So, I want to say that if the electrons are revolving around the nucleus in an orbit, then electrons should possess a definite energy, and that energy is calculated theoretically. And we also know the remember your Bohr's theory, hydrogen atom, then you can recall that hydrogen atom, there are the nucleus and it is first orbit. If there will be excited state, then it will be second orbit, third orbit if possible for excitation. So, similarly, if you consider the higher and higher orbits of the hydrogen atom, then in first orbit the energy of the electron will be minus 13.6 eV. What is eV? We will come very soon what is eV. So, in second orbit that will be minus 3.4 eV. In third orbit the energy of the electron will be minus 1.51 eV. In the fourth orbit, if possible, then it will be eV. Actually, the hydrogen had normally one electron in the first orbit, but due to excitation it may go to first orbit to second orbit, second to third, third to fourth, it may go up. So, if that is possible, then this will be the energy of the electron. So, I mean to say that the electron in each orbit has a definite energy. So, I can represent the energy. So, graphically or pictorially in diagram I can represent the electron energy. How? You say it is just your ground level or first orbit, you say it is your first orbit, it is your first orbit, it is your second orbit, it is your third orbit, it is your fourth orbit. So, in this way you can assign the energy to this orbit. This is your minus 13.6 eV, this is your minus 3.4 eV, minus 1.51 eV, minus 85 eV. In this way you can represent the energy of the electron by a line. Remember, this is a line. So, the energy is represented by a line or a stara level. So, this is called level. These are this one, this one, this one, this one, they are energy level, Shakti stara. So, they are energy level. So, in this context I will define the energy level as the energy represented by a line. So, energy level is that line which represents the energy of an electron in an orbit. So, that is for one atom, single atom. it is important. For single atom, if you represent, if you show the energy of the electron in different orbit, you have to draw the horizontal lines, and that way you can show the energy of different energy of electrons in different orbits. So, this is the energy level. So, you think of the some sub levels or sub cells. What is that? Each cell is again divided into sub cells. Each cell is divided into sub cells. They are S subcell, P subcell, D subcell, F subcell, etc. And they are represented by some number. They are given by L equal to 0, L equal to 1, S, P, D, L equal to 2, L equal to 3. In this way, they are given. A subcell contain orbitals. Subcell contains orbitals. So, orbitals, each subcell, suppose S contains 1 orbital, P contains 3 orbital, D contains 5 orbital, F contains 7 orbitals in this way, and each orbital takes 2 electrons at a time. So, actually what are those? Those are actually the address of the electron. If I try to locate the electron, then I have to think of the cell first, main orbit, KLMN, then subcell to orbital, orbital to I can go to the electron. These are the energy levels. But when I talk of the matter, a solid, then you are not confined to a line only. You are not confined to a line only. There you have to think more. What is that? Suppose in a matter, in a solid, there are many atoms. So, each atom, let me talk about the valence electron. So, for this electron, this is the valence electron. For this atom, this is valence electron. For this atom, this is valence electron. So, when I talk of the matter, then the matter consists of closely packed atoms, and those atoms are not having a single line energy. How? Now, this electron, though it is in, suppose all are in K cell, but each electron is surrounded by many electrons. So, the surrounding of each electron is not same. If the surrounding of the electron is not same, their energy will be not same. Though they are in K cell, their energy will not be same. It is because the electron will be attracted or repelled by other ions and other electrons surrounding it, and no two electrons will have the same surrounding. So, what will be the result? The result is that due to interaction of an electron with the surrounding field, surrounding electric field, surrounding charged particles, the energy will be slightly increased or decreased. Suppose in K cell, the electron has energy this one, but due to interaction, this energy will be slightly different. For another atom in the same solid, you think of the electrons in the K cell. So, one K cell, the electron has energy this much, another this much, another this much. So, previously suppose it was 13.6 eV. Now, it is not 13.6, it may be 13.61, it may be 13.6001, it may be 13.591. In this way, the energy levels will be very close, distinct, but very close. So, instead of one line, if you are thinking of a solid, then you will find the energy of electrons in the same cell, in the same orbit. It is not a single line, but a bunch of lines, a bunch of very close lines. Each line will give you the energy level. So, they are very closed. So, for K cell, you are giving this bunch. So, L cell, similarly, you will get very close lines. For M cell, you will get some closed line, this range of energy, this range is known as not energy level, but energy band. So, now we land upon a concept which is energy band. So, let me conclude between energy level and band. In energy level, you get one line only. The line represents the energy of the electron in an orbit, but that is isolated atom or single atom, that is not surrounded by any surrounding atoms or any surrounding charge. But in case of band, if the electron is present in the solid, then it is surrounded by many electrons or many atoms, many ions. So, its energy is slightly different, may be more than that, may be smaller than that. So, the bunch of energy or the range of energy possessed by the electron in a solid, when it is not isolated atom, in a solid, the range of energy possessed by the electron is represented by a band, a patti, a band, and that band is known as energy band. So, we came to know that the energy level represents the energy of an electron in an isolated atom, but the energy band represents the energy of the electrons in a matter. For the same orbit, but when it is a matter, then the same electron is surrounded by other electrons. It is influenced by the neighboring field, electric field. Therefore, its energy is slightly deviated, and those slightly deviated range of energy is represented by a band. So, we are drawing a level, means a single line. Now, the single line has been changed to a band of discrete energy levels, but as a whole it looks like a band. So, I can find the levels in a band, like this is one level, this is another level, this is another level, this is another level, but as a whole it is band. So, it is level, it is level, it is level, but it is a band. So, now you think of the valence electrons. You know what is valence electron? Suppose it is a carbon atom. Carbon atom, there is a K cell, there is L cell. So, K cell has 2 electrons, L cell has 4 electrons, carbon has 6 electrons. So, these L cell electrons, those are valence electrons, and when it is in a matter, suppose it is a carbon material, then the carbon atoms are closely packed with each other. So, each atom is surrounded by many atoms, and specially you think of the valence electrons of the carbon atom. This is carbon atom, these are 4 valence electrons. This is carbon atom, these are 4 valence electrons. This is carbon atom, these are 4 valence electrons. These valence electron, they are surrounded by other electrons and other ions. So, this electron will interact with other ions, other electrons, and the neighboring charges surrounding each valence electron will affect the energy of each electron there. Had it been a single isolated atom, the energy level would have been a line, but the case is not so. What is the case? The case is that, or in fact, now in a matter, the carbon atom is surrounded by many atoms. So, the electron has a surrounding charges. So, this energy will change, and this energy, as you know, it will have a range of energy. So, the same valence electron for many carbons, there will be millions of electrons for million of atoms. So, each electron, each valence electron because they are in a matter, they will have a slightly different energy, very close to them, very close to each other, but they will have slightly close energies, and those energies when I represent in a diagram, then that will be like this. So, previously the carbon valence electron had a line, but now it is a range of energy. So, all the valence electrons of the carbon now possess a range of energy, and that range of energy is known as energy band, but because it is of the valence electrons, so it is called valence band. Valence band. Similarly, now the valence electrons are loosely bound because they are away from the nucleus. So, they are loosely bound. If you supply some heat, then they can easily be detached from the valence orbit, then become free, means this electron will be detached and become free. So, when a valence electron is given an energy at room temperature, say, then it will be detached and it will be become free, just like metal. In metal, what happens? The valence electrons, they are easily detached from the valence orbit and they become free. Now, the free electrons are responsible for conduction. When you apply a battery, then the conduction will be due to those free electrons. That is why those free electrons are known as conducting electrons or conduction electrons. These conduction electrons, certainly they will have more energy, because they have absorbed some energy and then they have detached from the orbit. So, they will have more energy. If they are free from their parent atom, then they will still have more energy. Anyway, so my point is that when the valence electron gets some energy, even at room temperature, this temperature is sufficient, this heat is sufficient to detach the valence electron in a metal, and now the metal gets some conducting electrons. So, metal can conduct. Now, these conduction electrons will have certainly more energy than the valence electrons, but this energy will be something more. So, the conduction electron again, they will have different surrounding, they will have different type of interaction with different surrounding electrons. So, their energy will be not exactly the same for all electron, but different electron, conducting electrons will have different value of energy. So, again if I try to represent the energy of all the conducting electrons in a metal, then the energy levels will be very close to each other, but that will not be a single line, rather it will be a bunch of lines. That means, the valence electron will possess a range of energy, and that range of energy, because it is of the conduction electrons, it will be conduction band. So, this was of the valence electrons. So, this was valence band, this is of the conduction electron, that is therefore, it is conduction band. If I draw the energy level diagram for a metal or conduction band, then it is your valence band, it is your conduction band. But there is a gap between conduction band and the valence band. What is that gap? Now, the energy required from valence band to conduction band, this energy, some energy is required, that energy I may represent by delta E. So, this is your band gap, means the gap between the valence band and the conduction band is your band gap. If the band gap is more, that means it is difficult to detach the electron from the valence orbit to send it to the conduction region. If the gap is very small, then the valence electron can easily be detached and go to the conduction level. So, the gap decides the conductivity of a material. So, we will come to that one later. So, it is your valence band, it is your conduction band, and the valence band may be for inert gas, it is full, may be partially filled. Similarly, the conduction band may be empty. If the conduction electrons are not there, they may be empty. If the conduction electrons are there, so they may be partially filled or they may fully filled. In this way, the valence band and a conduction band will be separated by a gap, in which this gap is called as band gap, and you will find no energy level. Interestingly, you will find the energy level between this range, this is your valence band. You will find energy levels between this range, this is your conduction band, but you will not find any energy level between these two bands, and that is why this is called a band gap. Actually, the band gap decides the conductivity of a material. So, a material conductivity will be decided by the band gap. So, on the basis of this band gap, or you can say it is band theory. On the basis of band theory, you can categorize the material into three categories mainly. Those are, you can categorize the material by band theory. One, it is insulator. Two, semiconductor. Three, conductor. On the basis of band theory, you can just group the material into three categories. One is insulator, another is semiconductor, another is conductor. What is insulator? You think of the wood, you think of the rubber, those are not conducting the current, electric current is not conducted by them, therefore, they are known as insulator. Good conductors, silver, gold, etc., they are good conductors. So, they are conductors, and the conductivity lies between an insulator and a conductor. Those materials are there. They are known as semiconductors. We should categorize the three materials on the basis of band theory. What is that? You know what is band theory. That means, the matter should have some valence band, the matter should have some conduction band. Below the valence band, there are other bands, but we are not taking care, we are not giving importance to those bands. We are giving importance to the last two bands, that is conduction band and the valence band. So, the gap will decide whether the material is an insulator or a conductor or a semiconductor. If the gap is more means if it is more than 5 electron volt. So, I should take a minute, couple of minutes to discuss about the electron volt, because I am using the unit again and again. So, what is electron volt? Written as small e, capital V, electron volt. If there are two plates, this is positively charged, this is negatively charged. There is an electron and the potential difference or a battery is given 1 volt battery. Potential difference is 1 volt. If it is potential difference 1 volt and this is negatively charged, the electron will be repelled by this plate, and this plate will attract the electron, or you can also say the field will be produced between two plates, two charged plates, and within the electric field the electron will be accelerated from negative plate towards positive plate, and due to acceleration its speed will be increasing. Now, its speed is 0. Now, after acceleration A, the speed will be v. So, the speed is increasing, that means it is gaining some energy. So, finally, the velocity of the electron, suppose it is v, and mass of electron it is m. So, the energy of the electron was 0, it was at rest. Now, due to this acceleration, this electric field, the energy becomes half mv square, because now the electron has attained a final velocity v. This half mv square is the energy gained by the electron due to electrostatic field, and this energy is known as the 1 electron volt energy, if it is 1 electron and 1 volt. So, this energy is called electron volt. That means, if I define electron volt, then 1 electron volt is the energy gained by 1 electron when accelerated from a negative plate to a positive plate separated by 1 volt potential difference. So, now come to our band theory and our classification of material. So, classification by band theory. So, I was talking of the insulator, and insulator, this is your valence band and this is your conduction band. The valence band is almost or fully filled. The valence band is fully filled, that means the band space is filled by the energy levels, and the conduction band is empty. No energy level is there, means no conducting electrons are there. So, the insulator to conduct, what has to do? Some electrons should be transferred from valence band to conduction band, then only it will be able to conduct. But can we transfer the electron from valence band to conduction band, in insulator? No, it is tough. It needs much more heat. That means, heat is not sufficient. Whether if you heat it up, if you warm it up, then it may burn, but the electron may not reach the conduction band. So, the insulator cannot have electron in the conduction band, maybe, but usually the insulator does not have the electrons in the conduction band, that is why it does not conduct, and the gap is more than delta E, more than 5 electron volt. For a diamond, it is 5.4 electron volt. So, this is insulator on the basis of band theory. Now, you come to semiconductor. In semiconductor, the valence band is nearly filled. That means, some gap is there, some empty space is there, but nearly filled. The valence band is filled by the energy levels, and the conduction band, there are little amount of energy levels, less number of energy levels, but most of the space is empty, where a small volume, a small region is empty. So, it is nearly filled, it is nearly empty. This is semiconductor. So, in semiconductor, the valence band is nearly filled and the conduction band is nearly empty, and the gap is very small. It is 0.7 volt for germanium and 1.1 volt for silicon, EV for silicon. So, here you can transfer the electron from valence band to conduction band by applying heat. Heat is sufficient to transfer. What will happen when it transfers? When it transfers the electron from valence band to conduction band, the electron goes up, but it creates a vacancy here. that vacancy is your hole, and that hole is produced in valence band. For that hole there will be electron in the conduction band. So, you can get hole electron pair, and other thing what happens, by that, by increasing the heat, you are generating the hole electron pair and you are getting electrons for corresponding holes in the valence band. So, now your the semiconductor will be able to conduct, because it has found the electrons in the conduction band. So, its resistance to the conduction of the current decreases. So, I can say it has negative temperature coefficient. Negative temperature coefficient of resistance means, if you increase the temperature of the semiconductor, then your resistance will decrease and it will be more and more conducting element. But what about the conductor? In conductor, the case is slightly different. In conductor, you may get the two bands overlapping. It is your valence band, it is your conduction band, and they are overlapping. When they overlap, then with slight excitation, the electrons can go to conduction band, or the conduction band also have electrons. So, it is now ready to conduct, like your aluminum, iron, copper, silver, those are the overlapping cases. And it may be such that the conduction band and valence band may be different, not touching each other, but the gap is very small, just like 0.01 eV. That means, it can be easily transferred from the conduction band, from the valence band to the conduction band. So, it can be easily transferred. Now, you come to the conductivity of the material. So, if the conductivity is considered, that is measured in Siemens per meter. For insulator, for semiconductor, for conductor, the conductivity is given as, for insulator it is 10 to the power minus 8 Siemens per meter. For semiconductor it is 10 to the power 5 to 10 to the power minus 4 Siemens per meter. For conductor it is 10 to the power 8 Siemens per meter. So, these are the conductivity, but in pure semiconductor, the band gap is very small. So, you can get the electrons easily transferred from the valence band to the conduction band. But the temperature is also very important for conductivity of a semiconductor. If the temperature is suppose 0 Kelvin, then your semiconductor will behave as an insulator. Interestingly, when it is room temperature around 300 Kelvin, then only your electron can be detached from the bond, and the bond can break, semiconductor, the bond can break, and about 10 to the power 1 in 10 to the power 8 bonds. In 10 to the power 8 bonds, one bond will break to generate one electron and one hole, and in this way you will get at room temperature 10 to the power around 14 per meter cube electrons. This is your generated electrons for semiconductor at room temperature. So, uh, in semiconductor, the number of electrons generated by breaking of bond, they will be transferred to the conduction band and the hole will be there in the valence band. So, number of holes in valence band will be equal to the number of electrons in conduction band. So, the concentration of hole and electron will be same in semiconductor there. Now, the current flow in semiconductor will be due to the motion of the hole and also due to the motion of the electron. Usually, we say the electrons travel and the electron travels means 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb charge travels. This charge per unit time is known as your current. But in case of semiconductor, there are two type of charges or you can charge carriers. One is electron, another is hole. So, the hole may travel from one point to another point, the electron may travel from one point to another point. Both the motion will give you the current. That means, the current in semiconductor will be the current due to electrons plus the current due to holes, or current equal to I hole plus I electron. This is the situation for a semiconductor. So, we have two type of currents in semiconductor. Instead of one type of current, that is electronic current, we have electronic current as well as hole current, and the sum of the two currents will constitute the current in semiconductor. So, we came across the band gap between the conduction band and the valence band, and on the theory of this band theory or the band gap, we have grouped the material into three categories. One is insulator, another is conductor, another is semiconductor. So, in the context of semiconductor, we have to learn a lot, that is how the semiconductor devices are designed, how they are devised. So, for that we should know the semiconductor type, how they are made, how they are engineered. So, for that we should go to the original semiconductor and the modified semiconductor. The original semiconductor, those are the intrinsic semiconductors, and the modified are the extrinsic semiconductors. We should explain about the intrinsic and the extrinsic semiconductor first. Usually, we use the silicon and germanium semiconductors for our semiconductor devices. Other semiconductors are used, but usually the normal material for semiconductor devices are silicon and germanium. Both are having 4 electrons on its last orbit or the valence orbit. Suppose it is silicon nucleus, and surrounding the nucleus there is valence electron, and each silicon has 4 valence electrons. Usually the valence electron decides the type of material. When there is 4 valence electrons, they are semiconductors. When there are 1 or 2 valence electrons, they are usually conductors. When there are 5 or 6, 7 electrons, they are usually insulators. So, these are 4 this is a semiconductor. So, it has 4 valence electrons. So, these 4 valence electrons, they are grouped this way. It is a tetrahedron. So, in tetrahedron style, they are in 3D, they are grouped This is silicon, one silicon. Similarly, the other silicon. So, the 4 valence electrons, they are this way, they are oriented, and the silicon tetrahedrons, they are arranged one after another in a crystal structure that will form you, that will give you the silicon material. If I represent the 4 electrons, 4 valence electrons from tetrahedron 3D form to 2D form, then I should write them in this way. I should draw them in this way. This is silicon. These are the 4 electrons on the 4 corners of a tetrahedron. Now, the 4 electrons. So, this is one silicon. It is surrounded by many silicons, but one silicon and its surrounding 4 silicons will strengthen or will give you the stable structure. How? Now, silicon wants to have 8 electrons on its last shell or valence shell. So, this silicon will have the bonding of electron this manner. The 4 electrons will have covalent bond with 4 silicons in this way. So, these 2 electrons in each bond, they will be shared by both the silicon. For this silicon, there are 8 electrons. For this silicon, here is another silicon. So, in this way, the silicons are arranged and they form a stable structure. This is by its own structure, it is a semiconductor. If the temperature increases, then the heat may break this bond, and one electron may get free and get to the conduction band. Finally, this will have a hole here in valence band, one electron will be in conduction band. In this way, of its own, it has some conductivity due to electron and the hole. That is why it is known as intrinsic semiconductor. But when an intrinsic semiconductor is doped with an impurity, then it is extrinsic semiconductor. It is extrinsic semiconductor. The doping means a silicon is given a boron or indium or gallium, this is trivalent impurity, they are called trivalent impurity, or you get phosphorus, arsenic, strontium, there are pentavalent impurity. When the trivalent impurity is added to the intrinsic semiconductor, it gets a p type semiconductor. When a pentavalent impurity is given, it becomes n type semiconductor. It is those n type and p type, those semiconductors are known as extrinsic semiconductors. These extrinsic semiconductors, if the doping is more, then its conductivity increases and it can get the conductivity more. So, we have this is your conduction band, this is your valence band. If n type semiconductor is there, then there will be another level, it is around 0.01 for germanium or 0.05 for silicon. This is called donor level, and so here it is all acceptor level. This is also above the valence band. So, in this way we get two types of semiconductors. The p type semiconductor can be represented by a stable ion, negative ion, surrounded by a hole. It is p type semiconductor. So, n type semiconductor can be represented by a positive ion and an electron, free electron. So, they are called covered, means the negative ion is covered with a hole. Here the positive ion is covered with an electron. So, they are covered ions. As a whole, it is negative ion plus hole, it is positive. So, as a whole neutral, it is positive ion plus an electron, as a whole neutral. So, n type or p type, both the extensive semiconductors as a whole are neutral. For our semiconductor devices, we use the n type and p type materials. For n type material, the electrons are the majority charge carriers, and for p type semiconductor, the holes are the majority charge carrier. So, that means when the current is conducting, we should consider the electron as the carrier. In n type material, when the current is there, for p type material, we should consider the holes as the majority carriers. In addition to electron and hole, we have other two types, that is, for electron, the hole is minority charge carrier, here the electron is minority charge carrier. So, in this way, in ordinary conductor, we have only one type of conductor, that is electron, but in semiconductor or extrinsic semiconductor, we have two types of charge carriers, one is majority charge carrier, one is minority charge carrier for n type and p type.